Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Saturday night with the Wise Guys. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and I'm going to bring in my co-host, the ever wonderful JC Blue Note, Mr. Jim Carnidian. James, um, first off, I'd like to address us not being on last week, and that was because my mother-in-law was visiting from upstate New York, and fortunately and unfortunately, you'll know this in a couple weeks. The living room, which is also the studio, is where the pull-out couch is, where she slept. And I was going to try and do this upstairs in Bobby's room.
No,
would have gotten me yelled at pretty hardcore. Yeah, so it would have been rough. So thanks for the week off. I know you enjoyed it yourself. Was last Saturday night when we saw the Rated R Superstar show up in AEW?
it was technically at their October 1st pay-per-view Wrestle Dream, but it was like it was his first TV appearance afterwards. So naturally, since we broadcast on Saturday, I don't get a chance to watch Collision, and it's a little bit of like not taping it to go back and watch it later because of the bad aftertaste of CM Punk being there, and that was like his show for a while, but.
Oh no, I got you. So thank you for the week off. I honestly I tried to record a Big Rican episode, as I told you, in Bobby's room, and Steph was like, she said, "Yeah, Big Rican will work because you don't get as excited as if it's with Jim and something stupid is said." So James, with the week off, we have come to the beginning of the Major League Baseball playoff season, and now we are over a weekend, and we are ready for the LCS to kick off this week. If anyone on their 2023 baseball season bingo card had this Final Four, you need to start betting on stuff like now.
Yeah, considering, and the graphic will show, the three major league teams that finished the regular season with over 100 wins went 1-9 in the divisional round. And I know you had actually sent something to me that you thought that the Braves were frauds. They were frauds, but the bigger fraud I thought were the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Agreed with you 100%. But let's break down the three teams that went out. Now let's start with Baltimore, who in my opinion is the one team that was playing with house money. In a way, because they were a year early, maybe even 2 years early to win that division and get there. So that is going to be a team that's going to be built to win for a long time. Plus, you figure they had just lost their closer to Tommy John right before the playoffs started. So the Orioles had their own issues going in, but again, I felt like they were playing with house money. I think you agree. I think you had agreed with me in that statement.
They were the 2023 version of the 2022 Cleveland Guardians.
Way too young. Were playing with house money last year.
Way too young, playing with house money, and lucky to be able to get to the dance the way that they were and set up for the future. But then, reality slapped the Guardians in the face. Whereas the difference is, I think 2024 for Baltimore, they're going to run away with that division. I think they're going to be able to run and hide a little bit. Past this prologue, of course, but with the Guardians, we actually found out that this was a team that was not ready for that stage, and it showed this year. I think Baltimore's much more set for the future.
No, I agree, especially with Jackson Holliday going to be an outside shot to be the opening day shortstop next year.
Yes.
But let's go to the two National League teams who, by the way, were the 1 and 2 seed last year and got bounced in the divisional round last year. I want to start out west, and then I'll go a little bit north of here with a take I think you're either going to say is sour grapes or analyze it and tell me I'm right. Look, the Dodgers didn't hit with runners in scoring position. Their two biggest horses offensively did not produce in those 3 games. And when that happens, and Clayton Kershaw getting, tattooed out of the building without recording, 2 outs?
Yeah, it's even when you and I talked about it on the phone that Ron Darling said on the broadcast that after he got yanked, it would probably be the last time he would pitch in the postseason that year. And sure enough, they were right. Even if they would have advanced, we wouldn't have seen him again.
No, and that's a sad ending to really a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes.
In LA. And listen, the Dodgers have issues moving forward. Although they get Walker Buehler back next year, which I think was Walker Buehler would have started game one had he not been injured. You wouldn't have needed Kershaw in game one. Kershaw would have been in game two. Again, I think Arizona and Philadelphia in the National League were hot at the right time. And the Phillies have done this 2 years in a row. And I meant to send you this video. Derek Jeter called the Phillies beating Atlanta. He said it should be the World Series favorites, but the Phillies are going to beat them in the first round.
There was, I mean, you and I talked about it on the phone the other day, that as much as, you hate the Phillies as a native Mets fan, the Phillies are easily the most likable team in the playoffs right now.
Because I hate them, that's a little much. Personally, I think Arizona's a more likable team just because it's a younger team. It's been a while. We've dealt with Philadelphia's antics last year. But I think who's got the home field in that? It's the Phillies do, right? Or is there?
Yeah, it's the Phillies with them being the 4.
Okay. I don't think Arizona wins 2 games in Philadelphia. That's going to be rough.
Yeah, I think though Philly going on the road to the desert, especially as what we saw with, Arizona kind of getting their hot bats. I mean, we'll talk about that game 3 clincher here in a few minutes, but man, what a masterclass by both of those teams in that series.
Agreed. And now I want to talk about the Braves for a minute. And I'm going to make a statement that I think you're going to agree with. The Atlanta Braves may be the best regular season team of the last 30 years. They're also the worst postseason team of the last 30 years.
There's a lot of truth to that statement.
And here's why I say that. Being a Met fan, going into the Wayback Machine. Hello, Oliver. Going into the Wayback Machine in 2015 when the Mets were in the World Series, the big hype around that series was the Mets, what they called the 4 Horsemen, and that pitching against Kansas City. And most people thought that with the pitching, which is always king in October, the Mets were going to coast to that series. My thought was, don't say that. The Royals have the one thing a high-volume strikeout staff can't get around, and that's a guy or guys in the lineup who can put the bat on the ball and get a hit when they're behind in the count or there are men on base against a good pitcher. Well, the 2 guys who did that for Atlanta in their World Series run, one's in Chicago at playing shortstop, and the other one's in LA playing first base. Ronald Acuna didn't get off the interstate in either series the last 2 years. Matt Olson may have hit 50 bombs. He still has no home runs in the postseason. And they're pitching. I said to you a few weeks ago, the biggest issue with the Braves going into the postseason was Charlie Morton got hurt.
Yeah, we all saw what happened here in Cleveland when the back end of your bully, namely your shutdown guys, cannot get the job done or get hurt. We actually see how fast your season takes a nosedive.
Look what happened to the Mets this year. But look, the Braves are going to win the National League East probably for the next few years running. And I'm a Met fan, and I'm saying that. That team is stacked. It's loaded. The only issue is, will they fix the holes that the Philadelphia Phillies have shown? Spencer Strider cannot pitch in October to save his life.
No, not at all. That might be as much of a Captain Obvious story as Clayton Kershaw never should have suited up in these playoffs.
The difference is Clayton Kershaw had no choice. Spencer Strider was there to carry a team. Nick Castellanos becomes the first player in at least National League playoff history to hit multiple home runs in back-to-back games. Oh, him and his kid are great, by the way.
They are.
I love that.
They are.
I love that.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper did Bryce Harper. Why is he becoming likable?
For
This is
me,
bothering the shit out of me.
For me, Bryce Harper's always been likable because he shows the passion, but he's not cocky. He stands up for himself and his teammates. He gets run so often because 9 times out of 10, he's right.
You're right. Or it's Angel Hernandez.
Right. And that was that, and we talked about it on on our last show 2 weeks ago that that was the Angel Hernandez call where he ends up throwing his hat into the stands. His batting helmet was the worst call in baseball this year.
Yeah, but it's Angel, so it's kind of par for the course.
Let's also keep in mind, if it hadn't been for a late inning rally and Harper getting doubled off of second, the Braves could have been swept in that series too.
You know, did you see the videos of Orlando Arcia taunting the Philly fans?
Yeah, and then we all see how well that played out.
Attaboy, Harper.
When Bryce went yard twice in the next game.
And stared him down.
There was a great. Did you watch the John Boy breakdown I told you about?
Yes, I did.
Very nice.
It was very nice. And again, you're talking to a guy who, at his first game with the 7-Line Army, for 3 innings, chanted a combination of fuck and screw Bryce Harper. But I gotta say this. He was on McAfee, by the way, the other day too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him in a little later on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, when I saw the draw and Atlanta was getting Philly, because if we would have been on last week, I would have said this, that Philly was going to beat Atlanta and it wasn't getting back to Atlanta. Philly got a game there. Zach Wheeler was nasty in that series.
Man, it's for what, 10 strikeouts and not even 6 innings.
Yeah, Brody Van Wagen and the former GM of the Mets needs to be fucking punched in the goddamn face. That scumbag son of a bitch.
But again, past his prologue.
I knew he was going to be this good. Did you get another bug on you or something, dude?
The moisture on the outside of the bottle seemed to pee on me.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah. I just washed these damn sheets too, and now they're wet. Literally, I was doing laundry 2 hours ago, and I cleaned all the bedclothes. Now there's like when I shook my hand out, there's water spots all over.
Thank you for reminding me. Hold on. Hey, Google, remind me to change the sheets on the bed for Jim.
I'll sleep in the car.
No, you're not. Although leather seats, I got to tell you, the last couple of days have been rough on the back. I'm in Southern Georgia. I'm using the seat warmer.
I'm actually starting to use the seat warmer now because I have to.
I heard.
51 degrees and rain tomorrow.
It was 80 and overcast days. It's gonna be 75 and rainy tomorrow.
I've already got like most everything set in terms of toiletries. I got travel stuff today, like travel deodorant, travel body wash, travel cologne, stuff like that.
Nice.
Now I got to start I got to remember to bring my quip from the office. So I got a toothbrush. And I'm like,
oh, we got extras if you need it. Seriously, my mother-in-law was a benefits person at Vassar College, where Lisa Kudrow of all people went. And yeah, she used to get all the Delta Dental toothbrushes at like the benefits fair. I got a freaking drawer full of them.
Every time I get the free toothbrush from the office, even though I tell them I don't need it, basically all it does is it goes towards cleaning the bathroom for that 6 months.
Why did I get in my head the scene from Forrest Gump when they're doing the floor?
Yeah, I don't go that far with it. It's like, the ring around the toilet, the ring around the tub, the drain,
Shrimp burger, shrimp salad.
Save it. The only thing I've actually had to eat today was about a half a bag of spicy queso popcorners.
I like those.
Those are so good.
Keep it in mind, we're going to Saxby's Friday night. Got you. Listen, man, I do what I can do. It's literally at the road.
My mother actually we got into a discussion about Chick-fil-A the other day, and she now will not go to Chick-fil-A because she was so oblivious to Chick-fil-A, she did not know the story of where they lean.
How?
So she'd been there like once before, so she never really had a reason to know.
Waffle fries seem to put that out of my mind, though. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but the waffle fries are so good. But then again,
That's what I'm saying.
I was going to say, if you want decent waffle fries in this area, everybody knows where to go. Mr. Hero.
Yes.
It might call for cheat day tomorrow if I don't actually go to my dad's for the game.
So, Jim, if you had a handicap this round, we have the all Lone Star State ALCS where Max Scherzer said he's good to go. Well, if it means anything like it was last year, that's 2 2/3 and 7 runs on 4 dingers. Against this is their 6th or 7th consecutive LCS for the Astros. Hate them all you want. That's now the most consistent team in baseball.
Yeah, but I actually heard it from the while driving around, like, getting some things. I had to get a new TV for the bedroom today, but like they had one of the Pittsburgh guys filling in for the national show, and no, it wasn't Andrew Filipponi, that Mark that he is, but but he said, I've got no dog in the race in the National League. He's in Pittsburgh, so he's got no dog in the fight in the American League, but somebody just needs to grind the Houston Astros to a pulp out of one of these 3 teams.
I don't disagree with you. I would like to see Arizona and Texas in this World Series because neither team has been there in a while. I don't want a rematch. I couldn't live with Philly fans on social media if they get another fucking rematch.
Let's go heart head for the two for both matchups.
Heart is Texas, Arizona. Head is Houston, Arizona.
Heart, I got to go Houston. I'm sorry, I got to go Texas, Philly. Head, I'm thinking Houston, Philly. I'm thinking rematch.
Let's see, because I think if Zach Gallen pitches more than once in this series, it's going to be tough for the Phillies to win that series.
I think if Texas can get a game in Houston, because it's just Dallas to Houston, which means they're going to travel pretty well.
Yeah, no, agreed. The Phillies are definitely going to have an issue with the travel.
Yes.
Although they didn't really last year when they played San Diego.
Not one bit. Not one bit at all. And it's like they're playing a much more inexperienced team that got hot. Do you really think that after holding the mighty Dodgers to 6 runs in 3 games in a sweep, and that that third game hitting 4 home runs in the 4th inning as a major league record, do you really think they're going to be able to stop all that firepower that Philly's throwing out there, especially Bryce Harper?
Well, that's why I mentioned Zach Gallen, because that's their best strikeout pitcher in that rotation. If Zach Gallen pitches, and he should be in line to pitch game 1, if he pitches well and wins game 1, you're going to see him in game 5. Who's the manager in Arizona? Is that still Torey Lovullo?
Yes.
Depending on his pitch count in game 1 and how deep he goes, I would not be shocked with the kind of lineup Philly has and what Gallen can do. At Torey Lovullo trying to do what Tito tried to do in the 16 World Series and pitch him 147.
I could agree with that, because I also think it's something that we're going to be able to see, especially with the way that Philly's able to hit the ball out of the park now, and especially you get them into Arizona in that dry heat, and the ball's going to carry that much more. I don't see that as a scenario with Arizona coming cross country and being able to do the same thing, because they're playing out in warm climate. Now they're actually having to adjust to be able to get the ball up a little bit more in the colder weather. Whereas again,
Well, you gotta,
not an issue with Philly at all in that series.
no, but Philadelphia is a freaking bandbox, dude. I mean, you want to talk about two teams that built ballparks within 5-6 years of each other that built different ballparks. The Mets built the pitcher's park. Philly built a little league field. It's almost as little league as Yankee fucking Stadium. Yo, and by the way, just for that one, the New York press has been killing Brian Cashman because he said they already had 6 outfielders and they wouldn't want to put Bryce Harper at first base. "30-second hypothetical. If they win the World Series, do they trade Rhys Hoskins to try and get Mike Trout into Philly?"
No, why would you? Because at that point, if you already won with that team, you don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah, but Hoskins is out. That's what I'm saying. This team is doing it without him. Do you make him part of the trade package to try and get Mike Trout home?
There's still part of me that says no.
Okay.
There's just, I don't know what it is, because I think it'd be too many cooks in a kitchen. You'd actually be trying to set them up like, Murderers Row Yankees or or the Red Sox in their heyday. Where you were running out, Poppy, Pedroia, Uke, and all those guys and just mashing the ball all over the damn yard. I mean, you weren't jacking, 95 home runs a month out of the park, but they definitely played that small ball to a T. And Mike Trout is a guy who, let's be honest, he gets a lot of extra base hits, but he doesn't get on base very consistently.
Not in the last few years. I mean, the first several years of his career as a 400 on base guy. My only thing about it is this, and I want to jump away from it because it's just giving me heartburn thinking about him on that goddamn team. Don't laugh. It ain't funny. I'm a piece of Polish sausage caught in an artery.
Sausage. He
wouldn't. Shout out to Alex.
You realize that's the deepest we've gone into a show since we've had a soundboard that one got used? That was 24 minutes.
That's impressive. This whole content heavy thing for us the last few weeks, it's kind of alien, but it's kind of cool.
Just wait until Wise Guys 2.0 the week we get back.
Yeah, but then again, as always,
sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
And that's the first time in almost a month that's been played.
Yeah, it's getting more tonight. But yeah, no, it's Trout wouldn't have to be what he has to be in LA with that team. He doesn't have to be the stolen base guy because they have Trey Turner. He doesn't have to be the big power guy because they have Harper and they have Castellanos and they have Schwarber and they have Turner and they have Real Muto. So him there as a cog would be a different animal. But I'm going to make myself throw up. Can we change topics, please? Hey, real quick before we go into the next one in depth, we got to send a little shout out here, James.
We do, Michael.
Happy birthday to the sporting Sith himself, Mr. John Rice. We won't disclose how old John is because it makes both of us look that much older. Although no, I think John's older than both of us.
I'm in May. I don't remember if he's if he's older than me, it's not very much because we graduated together.
Yeah, I want to say he's October. You were May of 78, right?
Yes.
I'm January of 79. I want to say he's October of 77.
John, you old fart, but we love you anyway.
Yes, we do. He is one of the 4 horsemen of the wise apocalypse, James. Who would I be in that for? You're definitely Flair.
I could be Arn Anderson.
I would either be Dean Malenko or Arn Anderson.
Could I do? Does that also make me, because I'm the psychotic one on the show, does that make me a certain individual who we will not name?
No. He was in the 4 horsemen?
He was there with Malenko and
Arn Anderson and Flair.
And Marco.
That's right. That's right. No, you're definitely Mungo.
One of these days, we're going to have to sit back and we're going to have to actually plot out the wise guys 4 horsemen. So who would be like Wyndham, who's Flair, who's Sting, who's Dan Spivey, who's Sid, who's Malenko, who's the guy who we won't name.
Rice is really tall, so he can be Sid.
Yeah, I could see him.
You've got the spiky hair, so you've got to be Flair or Sting.
I can't scream like that loud anymore, though.
Neither do we do the show after the baby goes to bed. I can't scream at all.
I used to be able to do the Homer Simpson squeak, like the you know the one I'm talking about, the shriek.
Woohoo!
No, not that. The other one when he screams.
Oh, yes.
I used to be able to do that, and all of a sudden, like about a year and a half ago, I just haven't been able to do it anymore.
Age.
Probably.
Along those lines, there's a new movie coming out. It's a biopic of the Von Erichs.
Yes. I cannot wait.
Dude, not for nothing, Zac Efron is fucking jacked.
Do you know who's actually playing Kevin Von Erich?
Lip from Shameless.
Do you know who's playing another one of them?
I know it's him, it's Efron. It's who's the third one?
MJF.
Is he really?
MJF is in the movie.
No shit. So what Efron's playing Kerry Von Erich.
Yes.
Who's
I don't want to pull it up on the Chromebook because it lagged really bad, and that's actually why the intro was so choppy. But I already know the name of the movie. Okay, so Jeremy Allen White, Lip is Kerry, Zac Efron is Kevin, Max is Lance, Lily James plays Pam Atkinson, David Von Erich is played by Harris Dickinson, the father Fritz Von Erich is played by Colt McElhaney, and Aaron Eisenberg is playing Ric Flair.
Flair had to have say in that.
Oh, there's no doubt that Flair had to have a say in it. After watching the Von Erich's Dark Side of the Ring episode from earlier this year, it's going to be very, very uneasy knowing how all of that turns out.
There's got to be a second Aaron Eisenberg. Because the Aaron Eisenberg I just looked up was the guy from Deep Space Nine, and he is no longer with us.
Aaron Dean Eisenberg. He was in Box of Shadows.
What's the name of the movie?
The Iron Claw.
Now, Efron has done movies where he's been ripped.
Chavito is playing the original Sheik.
Seriously.
Chavo Guerrero.
That's awesome. Maura Tierney's in it.
Yep.
Brady Pierce is playing Michael Hayes.
Gino Hernandez, the name Ryan Nemeth should sound familiar. He's currently signed to AEW. His older brother is Dolph Ziggler.
They're from Cleveland.
Yep, the Pride of Lakewood.
As opposed to the Pauls?
I mean,
Maxwell Friedman, Lance Von Erich. He even looks like a douche in his picture on IMDb, bro.
But Max is just so damn good.
Now, I honestly think that they just found the perfect guy. He looks like Harley Race. Kevin Anton, he looks like Harley Race.
Yup. Former
That's crazy. My wife loves Shameless. And I was telling her, I was like, yo, Lip and Efron are in a movie together about wrestlers. And she goes, what?
I lost touch with Shameless, but then it's like I got to give it up to Lip because he actually, didn't he like nail Kate from NCIS for a season?
Yeah, she was his professor and then started paying his tuition.
Yeah. I think I got like 5 episodes through and I started reading ahead a little bit. It's like, yeah, this isn't going to grab me.
No, it's not bad. It's not. The dude who plays the next door neighbor and the guy who owns the bar will always be the guy from Reba for me.
Such an underrated show. It's like sometimes, I like getting up in the morning, turning on the TV, and sometimes it's like because they show like the endless reruns before the movies come on Hallmark every morning.
No, and let me just say this, and then we'll jump into the next topic. But the chick who played Barbara Jean plays a home wrecker in Young Sheldon, too.
Yes. Yep.
What the hell? It's like, lady, you're fucking typecast. Play somebody wholesome. Stop sleeping with people's fucking husbands, man. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So speaking of screwing things up recently, let's talk college football, shall we, James?
Which one would you like to start with? Because we had one of the greatest games of the last 5 years end a couple of hours ago, and then we had one of the biggest tanks in the history of college football just 24 hours ago.
What do you say let's give Coach Prime his lumps real quick.
You mean Coach Fraud?
That team was 1-11 last year. He's not Coach Fraud. Relax yourself. I don't like that he tossed it at his players' feet and only his players' feet in the postgame.
Yeah, he threw everybody under the bus.
Hey, is Travis Hunter back? Did he play last night?
He did, and he was a liability.
He probably shouldn't be back yet.
I mean, everyone looked good in the first half, and then they basically took their foot off the gas, and it bit them in the ass. And I sat there and I loved it. I was watching it at 1 a.m.
Yeah, he was talking about he felt they were getting complacent going into halftime, and they came out that way. Look, Stanford in second half cleaned their clocks, and that catch that kid made for the winning touchdown was outstanding.
Yes, it's Elik Aomayor. It's 13 catches, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had that catch, which was the winner, and then he also had to be able to make it a 2-score game. He had a 97-yard reception very early in the third quarter.
Were they playing prevent? What the fuck?
Well, what he did is he was out on the wing, and he actually did kind of like an outside in move, and the cornerback bit on the juke and fell, and he basically had an open lane.
Yeah, he's gone. So was this a defensive fall apart? Was this an offensive fall apart, or this the entire team just fall on their face?
Jim Everett.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we found a way to replace Brett Michaels. But when James says it, he will say Jim Everett. And when I say it, I will say Chris Everett. Dude, I work with two women. One of them is literally 90 days older than my daughter. The other one is a little older than us. And I said, do you remember the football player who jumped across the table at the interviewer? She goes, yeah, I remember that. I got a fit of laughing. Bet you won't say it again. Bet you I will, Chris. I'm telling you, that and the Slump Buster interview were the two things Jim Rome can hang his hat on for the rest of his life.
Or really any interview he's ever done with Elk over the years.
That's very true.
Yeah, Steve Elkington, the legendary Steve Elkington, greatest guest in the history of the jungle to this day.
I don't know. Gracie was pretty good.
Gracie was pretty good, but there's always Elk stories.
That's true. That's very true. So they fell apart on both sides of the ball.
It was, listen, Colorado had their chance, but this is now, and I said it after the Oregon loss. This is Colorado showing everybody who they are. Mike has his
31-13 Notre Dame in the third against USC. Caleb Williams threw 3 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, I thought it was getting ugly early. And that's going to bleed into the other game we're going to talk about here tonight.
Yeah, because I think Michael Penix just took the lead in the Heisman. Let me say this. I said this to you a few weeks ago. I'm saying it again. Caleb Williams cannot play against good defenses.
Arizona, Washington State. Wazoo is 19th in the country, 43-6.
They just kicked the extra point. It's 44-6. And oh, by the way, Arizona's got the ball back.
Yeah.
Miami's beating North Carolina.
Yeah, but that one's that's at the half. I was watching that earlier. That's going to be a very back and forth kind of game. Now the only thing
Oregon
is that
Oregon State's putting the wood to UCLA too.
Yeah, but they just came out of the half. There's lots of time in that one.
Not if they make it a 3-score game here.
Yeah. Pitt putting the wood to, Pitt about ready to put Louisville away.
Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't mean to burp like that in the microphone. So all right, so let me finish my last thought on this Colorado game. Then I want to jump to the Oregon USC or Oregon Washington. Then I want to jump to what's going on in South Bend right now. So first things first, Coach Prime's got to get his house in order. They're 2 wins from being bowl eligible, which they will be. They're going to be bowl eligible for the first time in how many years?
They have some bad teams left on their schedule, but they still have a lot of ranked teams too in their last.
They do, but they also have the ability to win a couple of those ranked games too. I can see a 9-3 season from them. I can see them running the table depending on who they're playing left, especially if Arizona has to go there. Although Washington State doesn't seem to matter because they're getting the shit kicked out of them now.
Let's go ahead and finish your statement, and then I'm gonna grab the spade out of the shed.
Maybe 8-4. But he's got to get his house in order. You've just almost got blown out by USC. And then USC took their foot off the gas and couldn't almost won that game. You win last week in overtime?
Yes.
You win in overtime last week, and then you blow a 29-point lead as a unit.
Against a 1-win Stanford team who's going to finish at the bottom of the Pac-12.
Yes, they are. But as a unit, you blow a 29-point lead to Stanford. You got to get your house in order. You got to figure out what the problem is, and you got to start on the offensive line. I feel so terrible for his kid every week because his father's sending him out there to get the piss beat out of him.
I read a story earlier that he leads all of college football in passing yards, but he's also going to set the Division I record for sacks in a year at this rate.
Yeah, and the thing that even Joel Klatt and Herbie and all them, when he talked about Coach Prime, said, the one thing when you take over and you have to transfer a lot of kids is you can't get the lines right. Their defensive line has had problems getting penetration and pressure on the quarterback, and the offensive line has had problems protecting the quarterback. And their running game is more. I've only watched one of their games, and it was a replay of the TCU game because they're just on too damn late at night. I'm too tired. But is it me or is their running game a lot of screens? Or is it a mixture?
I'm not going to say the name again, but I don't even think it's that, and I'm being completely honest. I think it's a very schoolyard type mentality offense. I think Shedeur Sanders is not nearly as good as a lot of people make him out to be. The interception that he threw in overtime was the dumbest throw I've seen him make this year, and I've seen him make some bad ones because I've seen a lot of their games. Trying to make too much with his legs, backpedaling, throwing off his back foot, dramatically underthrowing the ball, not reading the coverage. I understand he's going from, 1AA to a 1A school that's, having a lot of success early, but he throws for a lot of yards, but he also misses a lot of throws. He takes off way too much. He doesn't know how, and that's actually why it works in college. It doesn't work in the pros. If he goes to the pros, he's going to get converted. Much like, like a Troy Smith or a Terrell Pryor, and this is not meant to be racial or anything like that. But typically, any of those quarterbacks, Eric Crouch was the same way back in the 90s with Nebraska. If you try and be a running schoolyard, make plays happen with your feet type quarterback, but don't have that decent pocket presence, it doesn't translate to the pros. And what I noticed, because I went back and I watched most of the game when it was replaying at like 2 a.m. I made it a measure to tape it and then watched most of it this morning. He doesn't have the best arm. He has to step into a lot of his throws, a lot of his deep balls he doesn't have that natural strength. So it's almost like he's got to force the ball to be able to get something behind it. And that's his biggest Achilles heel right now.
Could part of the reason he is trying to do all this be because of the deficiencies he knows the team has on the lines? And in the defense, for that matter?
I think there's a lot of it to that, but I also think it's the style that has been bled into him because he's had the same coach his entire life, essentially, and he doesn't know any different.
It's entirely possible. But his coach has got a gold jacket for a reason.
For his playing career, damn sure not his coaching ability.
I don't think he'd ever go to the NFL anyway. And you can't say that, dude. You can't say that. Listen, he turned Jackson around in 3 years to a team that barely lost. He has taken this program and elevated it immediately. And yes, some of it is name recognition, but the other part of it is they are not playing like a team that was 1-11 last year.
They're 4-3. They're going to finish 6-6. Just watch.
And I'll say 7-5. I'll go back. I'll say 7-5. I think he finishes over 500.
You beat a TCU team, and I know we've covered this before, but it just keeps adding on every week. You beat a TCU team that missed 8 starters to the draft, that was a little bit overranked. You beat a Nebraska team that blows. You took your in-state rival to double overtime. That's coming off of back-to-back 3-9 seasons. You beat a team last week in overtime you should have blown out by 20. You lost to a team on a 4-game losing streak last night, blowing a 29-point lead in double overtime.
You are speaking zero lies, my friend.
I am, quite honestly, and I'm not even going to preface it by saying with all due respect, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. America, get off of his nuts.
Oh no, that's it.
Quit hanging from him. Quit hanging from them. Trying to suckle on the miracle teat of him, because Dan Lanning at Oregon said it best. They're still playing for clicks. We're playing for wins, and that's all
apparently
they are. They're a media darling. You might as well call them the Colorado Bananas at this point, because that's all they are. They're
do that. The Bananas actually play decent baseball. Speaking of the name you just spoke into existence, yeah, we've got some issue with him today now too. Because he may be trying to play for wins, but he played his team out of one today.
Either way, this was the best. This was easily the game of the year. This is going to be the best game in college football all year. We watched Ohio State, Notre Dame. That one was a defensive struggle. This one was whoever was going to hold the ball last.
Not really, because the guy missed the kick.
Yeah, but that ball was so close to the upright, it might as well. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if the tip of it had orange paint on it.
Oh no, I saw the kick.
Yeah, it was close. It was less than a foot.
Yeah, that was. I'll watch depending on how long Mr. sleeps tomorrow morning, because I'll be up early because I just don't sleep. But can't wait for that in 2 weeks, dude.
6 lead changes.
That's what's crazy to me. 6 lead changes. So let's talk about the transfer from Indiana to Washington. Michael Penix Jr., the lefty, slinging it.
And he played most of the second half all busted up. He kept coming off the sideline. You could definitely tell like he hurt a shoulder or an arm or some ribs or something, but he was not right.
Here's a little bit in the Wayback Machine. He was the quarterback in Indiana during the COVID year. He threw for 5 bills against Ohio State.
Yeah, there's no doubt the guy can play.
Yeah. I was shocked when he transferred to Washington, to be very honest with you.
Can we actually just talk about the Pac-12 for a moment? Because if you think about it argumentatively, the three Heisman front runners are the quarterbacks for the top 10 teams coming out of the Pac-12 right now.
Not anymore.
Bo Nix and Caleb Williams.
Not anymore.
But, barring a massive turnaround in South Bend tonight, but still.
You're going to see the top 3 after this week, and part of this is being a homer. It's going to be Michael Penix. It's going to be Marvin Harrison again after the day he had today. 7 catches, 100 and some yards, multiple touchdowns. In that house of horrors that is Ross-Ade Stadium for Ohio State. Every single coach, or the last 5 or 6 coaches, every single one of them lost at Purdue. Cooper lost there. Tressel lost there. Urban lost there. So yeah, but moving on. Penix will be a finalist right now. Marvin Harrison will be a finalist right now. Maybe Bo Nix will still get some talk because it was such a good game and it was such a close game. I fully anticipate the third one. Had he not gotten hurt today, it would have been Brock Bowers from Georgia.
Yes.
But he got hurt today. Vandy was up 7-0. I was hoping they would win.
It was Georgia.
Dude.
And it was Vandy.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, listen, if Ohio State Notre Dame was the game of the year going into this game, and actually no, because going into this game they weren't. It was Ohio State Notre Dame first, then the Red River game, which was awesome.
Yes.
And then this week. So the top 3 games, oh look, none of them have come out of the SEC.
Because really there's Georgia and everybody else. Nobody else. I mean,
There really is.
Yeah.
And Georgia's not what they were.
No. And it's almost like you're
because
waiting. It's very much Georgia. Very much right now is like, could Georgia end up being John Jones syndrome? Is you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it just never does.
no, if they get in the playoff and get with somebody who can sit on the field with them, yeah, it will drop.
Yeah, but we also thought that last year.
No, we all picked Georgia to win that game. Even me, the psycho lunatic Buckeye fan, picked Georgia to win that game. Oh wait, no, I didn't. I just said it wasn't going to be a blowout like you and John said it was going to be. But Georgia last year, this year's Georgia team reminds me of the 2015 Ohio State team that just sleepwalks. They're playing close games against teams they have no business playing close games against. And they're going to get bit.
Because, I mean, let's be honest right now. It's not how, it's how many.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, with the schedule they have, it really is. It's just how many points are they going to win by? Look for their trip to Knoxville to be tough. For no other reason than it's on the road. Tennessee's not going there. I think everybody thought last year, even if Tennessee beat Bama, that Tennessee going to Athens was going to be a bloodbath. But this Georgia team going to Knoxville is going to, I think they'll win, but I think it'll be a different animal.
Yeah, but the difference is you didn't have Hendon Hooker in that game last year. You had Hendon Hooker last year. You don't have Hendon Hooker this year.
Not for long.
They're 19th in the country right now, and they're squeaking by some teams. And then they got boat raced by the Gators a couple of weeks ago.
I saw that.
They are.
You know who their quarterback is this year?
I should know this because I've watched a couple of their games, and I keep forgetting.
It's Joe Milton, the Michigan transfer.
Yes.
The guy who had the most touchdowns scored by Michigan in that 2018 game.
What happened in Boulder or what happened in Miami?
Oh, fucking Miami. Cristobal's got to be the biggest dumb son of a bitch on the fucking planet.
The Cristobal catastrophe.
You know, every time I hear his last name, I think of the episode of Family Guy where Chris is an artist. Kate Moss is here. Where is she?
You know what I need to add to the soundboard of when he falls down the steps with his slippery shoes? As we break every FCC violation doing so.
That's the one we got to put on there. Who cares? Nobody's listening anyway.
Yeah, I'll try and find that.
But you know, that was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen.
The fact that they had 4 wins going into that game and had not taken a knee in any of them, and then 5 years ago when he was at Oregon, lost the same way.
Yeah, well,
you know, morons.
I saw that, and now mind you, I know people down here who are Georgia Tech fans. Even they were like, yeah.
And sure enough, when they actually, what's the first thing that they showed in the lead up to them kicking off against North Carolina tonight? That.
Of course. They're on ABC. ESPN and ABC have zero chill. We saw that during the draft show when they put up Jalen Carter's rap sheet.
Yeah. Even even if you hate the coverage or the way that they oversaturate things, the lack of chill, you got to give them credit for, because they're not ones to pull away, because they got the Scadone to be able to do something about it.
I found a new thing I want to have on the soundboard.
What, Scadone?
The Scadone.
I'm the Paisan. I can say that. Have you seen the YouTube channel of? It's an Italian family. I want to say the dad's in construction or something, and then the kids are all pranking him and shit.
I love those guys. They did one where the parents were making them buy the water because they were going through all the bottles and they threw it in the pool, a la the freaking Boston Tea Party.
Did you? Yup. Some of my favorites were where they had the House Olympics, like how far they could get to the sister before she told them to stop. And
what are you doing with the tape measure? No, my favorite was the other day. They're on TikTok. I saw it. They come downstairs. The father hands the kid $500 and he goes, "I got you." And you hear the mother scream, "Did you break my bowl?" And the kid just smiles, looks at the money, and walks in and takes it.
As a Paisan, I think my favorite one has got to be where they're going out. They're going out to dinner or something like that, and the kid dresses up like a mobster with a bag, and he actually says, "So what are we gonna do?" "No, I'm taking him out to dinner."
That's the best one. Oh my god!
Oh,
Is that the same? Is that the same one where the kid's jacked and the mother's best friend wants to sleep with him?
yes, yes. Where he comes walking through the house as a lifeguard and everything, and
Here, I thought that was Zach Wilson's page.
yeah, because that was also I think there was another one. I want to say a day or two later where the caption said like, "Mom wanted me to take out more mature women," so then he picks up her friend.
Do you blame him?
Why do I get the feeling that's going to be me, at least this way? If I get slapped with a restraining order 2 weeks from tonight, I'm going to be 3,000. I'm going to be 1,000 miles away to be able to do anything about it.
He brought up the word restraining order.
It's not stalking. I like to think of it as obsessively following.
What is that from? Or did you say that?
No, I took that from somewhere, and I'm trying to remember where.
Is that from The Rookie when the guy drops into Will.i.am's backyard?
No.
Okay. So here, I got to adjust again. My back has been killing me, dude. So we have the biggest screech moment of the week in Crystal Ball. But let's talk about Dan Lanning and his bonehead coaching decisions today. He cost Oregon a signature win. Definitely out of the top 10 now. And their chances at the playoff are gone.
I don't know, especially when you because you've still got. I mean, USC is going to have their first loss tonight. If Washington,
Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Well,
they're not going to beat them again. They're going to have to play whoever. Oregon would have to play Washington. No, they're in the same part of the division. Washington's in the driver's seat to get to the Pac-12 championship game now.
Yeah, but if Washington slips up, I mean, Oregon's got the pieces to be able to get back there, because honestly, when you're going to have a Pac-12 championship game involving USC, Washington, and Oregon, two of the three there, I mean, that almost is like a qualifier into the playoff.
31-20 with 9:04 left in the fourth quarter.
That's still potentially doable with the way that USC has the ability to score.
Yeah, but the problem is that USC's defense is not nearly as good as it needs to be. And if I'm Marcus Freeman, I am doing exactly what I did to Ohio State a few weeks ago, and I'm just running the piss out of the ball, and I'm playing keep away.
I mean, I think Oregon falls, but I don't think they're falling very far at all. I mean, maybe 12 at the worst.
Well, they're 10 right now. Notre Dame's at 21, and you got to figure they were a multiple score favorite going into South Bend. Mizzou's up 2 scores on Kentucky, by the way. And Carolina took a 28-17 lead on Miami. Oregon is up 12 on UCLA. Duke's up 3 touchdowns on NC State.
And for the first time I can actually remember, we got no late game in the top 25.
Well, that's because it's because the teams that are playing late in the Pac-12 had games in different time zones today.
Right. It's we actually, I mean, what we had Arizona blowout Wazoo on Thursday night.
I saw that. I mean, if you look at going back to the Pac-12 championship game right now, if you look at it, you have the Apple Cup doesn't mean anything anymore. I think if Washington wins the next 2 weeks, they're going to end up clinching their spot in the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah, they'd be 8-0 and 5-0 in the conference.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody else getting there. So that means, well, do they play USC?
Looking.
Give me a second. I'm looking on here.
I got it here.
They do on the 4th of November they're at the Coliseum.
Yeah, so their schedule is a little murderous. I mean, they get basically 2 weeks off against Arizona State and then Stanford. Then you got the big one against USC. Then you host Utah on the road in Corvallis against the Beavers, and then the Apple Cup. And newsflash, the next 2 weeks where you're actually going to run up the score on those 2 teams, then you play 4 ranked teams the rest of the way out. And then you're going to play one of those teams again as a 5th straight week in the Pac-12 championship. So if Washington,
but if there's 2 divisions in the Pac-12, what are the 2 divisions in the Pac-12?
No, I didn't want standings. No, I did want standings. There we go. The Pac-12 dissolved the divisions a few years ago.
Okay, so this is just straight out. So right now, if everybody played and won out their games,
Wazoo would go to 9-0 in the conference, so they'd be in. You could potentially see Oregon run the table, Utah possibly run the table, and you'd have them meeting up. Or you could actually see, like, if USC runs the table, they'd have a tiebreaker over Oregon from potentially. So, I mean, you're going to have Washington against USC or Oregon. So again, you're going to have 2 of those 3 teams, possibly even a Utah in there who's played spoilers the last 2 years. And then if Utah gets that far, you could have Utah in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, if Utah gets that far, that means they beat Washington, and Washington's not getting into the championship game at that point in time. Maybe this is the best time for USC to lose because it's Notre Dame. It's not a conference game.
Right.
But yeah, I think we can put away, unless he comes out the next few weeks and just dominates. Caleb Williams lost the Heisman Trophy tonight.
Depending on what he does the last 9 minutes of this game, yeah.
If they win, Marcus Freeman needs to be fired.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's actually
that's 2 blown leads in your biggest games of the year.
I wouldn't go as far to be fired, but it would reek of like it would reek of the Cristobal catastrophe, is basically trying to outsmart everybody else in the room.
If Notre Dame loses this game, I'm going to say this. I don't want to see it happen because I would love to see them win. But if Notre Dame loses this game, they scored again. It's 38-20. It's over.
Okay, it's over.
You would have started to hear the Urban Meyer to Notre Dame talk.
See, I don't think Urban comes out of the booth. I just don't think he wants the stress anymore.
I don't think he can take the stress anymore, Jim.
Because if you think about it, Ohio State is one of the 5 most coveted jobs in college football. There might be more pressure at Notre Dame than Ohio State. So why would he want that?
There would be more pressure at Notre Dame because it's Notre Dame. And you automatically have to win every game in order to get into, well, hear me out though. There would be less pressure starting next year with the 12 team. Because a one-loss Notre Dame with wins against big ticket teams, i.e. Clemson, USC, games like that, you're going to get into the playoff. Now you're going to be 9, 10, 11 seed in the playoff, but you're going to get in. So that takes some of the stress off of it. No, I don't think Urban's leaving the booth ever again. I think Shelley will kill him. Or the co-eds. Don't shake your head. You would have said it if I didn't.
You big dummy.
Shut up. That's what I think about that. Anyways, so listen, buckle up. Next week, we got big games too. Penn State comes to the Horseshoe next week. Fresh off their 63-0 trouncing of UMass. I didn't know UMass had a football team.
Yeah, UMass has actually been ranked in the bottom 25 by ESPN and CBS Sports. I want to say 6 of the last 7 years.
Oh, so this is Penn State's version of Alabama playing Middle Tennessee.
Or the
Week
Citadel.
before. Yeah.
Look at the games we have next week. I'm looking at next week's schedule. Duke travels to Florida State. That's a ranked.
That's a big game.
The big one is Penn State, Ohio State. Wazoo goes to Oregon. Tennessee to Alabama. You got
If Bama loses to Tennessee, it's over.
You got Michigan, Michigan State, even though that's going to be a blowout. Utah, USC is another one.
Oh, is the idiot game from the state up north in East Lansing, or is that in Ann Arbor?
East Lansing. And it's
That's right, because the years it's in East Lansing, Bucks go to Ann Arbor and vice versa. Okay.
Yeah, it's and that's going to be the NBC prime Big Ten primetime game next week.
Cool.
I don't know why, but then again, it's the only one probably on the Big Ten schedule that's even worth a damn, because regardless of how bad one of those teams are in that history, they always play each other tough.
Yeah, and in Fox, the big noon game of the week is obviously from the Horseshoe, where everybody's going to be next week, because Game Day just announced they're going to be in Columbus. Big noon Saturday is going to be in Columbus, and of course, Gus and Joel will be on the call with Penn State against Ohio State. We'll have that to react to next week. What happens there? The heck's what I going to say? So we get some big games next week. Listen, man, it's teeing it up for, once again, that game in Ann Arbor. The weekend after Thanksgiving is going to be, if Ohio State beats Penn State this week and Michigan beats Penn State in a couple weeks, it's going to be for all the marbles.
Yeah, you just said it best. Buckle up, because the last 6 weeks of the regular season, we got massive games every week out, just because of the parity. And for once, it's nice that a lot of these marquee games are not coming out of the SEC. They're coming out of the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Pac-12.
What marquee games are in the SEC this year?
Jim Everett.
In conference.
Quite honestly, if you think about it, the biggest one that we actually have is next week, where Tennessee goes to Birmingham. And Tuscaloosa. And that's not even going to be that great of a game, because there's nobody else.
No, it's not.
Georgia.
So just real quick, with USC and Notre Dame, Caleb Williams threw a touchdown pass. Jadarian Price took the kickoff 99 yards. Who's that?
Not sure. Watching on Twitch.
Nice.
But thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. 99-yard kick return. Notre Dame kick return dagger against USC. It's almost like we're asking the Rocket to come out of retirement.
But how appropriate is that right now? The Pac-12 is the best and most entertaining conference in the country, and it's the last year, as we know it, of that conference.
It's a nice send-off.
Very much so.
The other thing, too, though, what this game in South Bend is doing is it's making Ohio State's resume look better.
Because, and this is not trying to throw shade or anything, but it kind of needs it because really outside of that, there's not a whole lot of window dressing on their resume.
If they win out, there will be. Because then you're beating Penn State and Michigan.
If they do. I mean, if they go out and they beat Penn State, but they look like shit next week,
I think they have a little bit of a parachute with that because of how well Penn State's playing, and the fucking rash of injuries they got. Dude, they won today with Dallin Hayden being their number one back.
Yeah, my dad actually told me they lost 5 starters, or either sat 5 starters, like a combination of starters or lost
Ibuka.
5, were either starters or rested guys because of injury.
Ibuka was out. Travion Henderson was out. Mayan Williams was out. Chip Trainum took, the former linebacker, who's now their third running back, had 3 dudes just annihilate him, and he went in the concussion protocol. The Ibuka, Williams, Henderson, Chip Trainum, and I think there's something wrong with McCord because Devin Brown played a bunch.
The Crinitti boys were supposed to get together for this game, and then it kind of dawned on me at about 1:00 in the morning. The game was on Peacock, and nobody has it.
That's when you ask Big Rican for his sign-in.
I had Peacock, and it's like, we wouldn't have been able to pause it or do anything like that.
It's terrible.
When I picked up cable and I dropped Peacock because I wouldn't have to watch WWE Network anymore.
Yeah, well, the
reason I ever used it, that and Sunday Night Football.
Bobby likes a show called Harry and His Bucket of Dinosaurs. I won't watch Ohio State on it because as much as I like Iron Eagle's kid, I worked today during the game. I had Paul Keels on. Yes, I ignore Jim Lachey as much as possible, but I had Paul Keels on.
Do I actually need to bring up the guy who I actually told to shut up on a Christmas list?
No. I don't like him either, Jim.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
You know what I saw the other day? They put Leslie Nielsen's face over somebody from the Lord of the Rings. I have a way to destroy the ring. What's that? It's a round gold thing you put on your hand, but that's not important now.
I've never seen Lord of the Rings, never will, but yeah, I at least get the analogy. There is probably something I'm going to add to the soundboard for next week.
What's that? Are you typing it to me? No.
Come on.
Wait. No, hold on. When he's discussing what they're watching. And not the radar. This is now.
But when will then be now?
Soon.
I have been watching since last night when I had to actually give my Switch a rest because the controllers died. Whatnot. You get the low battery alert. I've been watching channels reacting to watching Spaceballs for the first time, and then followed that up with channels watching Blazing Saddles for the first time.
There is one where it looked like a person wanted a fight when he said, Doc, that would beginning. How about a good old work song?
Yeah.
I had to turn it off. I was laughing too hard. Because I don't know if I told you this one before. I made Zachary sit through Blazing Saddles. And when he says, Doc, that's so-and-so a day's pay, he sat up and looked at me like, Dad, what are we watching? And then he said about the song, and he goes, wait, what?
Because when I get there, I'm going to have to give you a Laurel and hearty handshake.
And hearty handshake. Jim's coming. I still haven't decided if I'm making you a sign that just says the commander or if I'm... Oh, God.
The sheriff is
near.
But we don't want the Irish.
My father took my mother to see that movie, and my mother almost walked out. So I got to tell you one more funny thing, and then let's get to the final topic of the night. So another thing on Peacock we watch is that Simple Songs for Little Kids.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby loves it. And they do a song about rock, paper, scissors. Jim, they did scissor on scissor. Swear to God. I said to Steph, I'm like, listen, if they do the scissor on scissor, you need to stop it. Let me record it and send it to Jim.
Scissor me, Daddy!
She's like, wait, why? Bring that shirt. Come on. It's just going to be the adults Friday during the day. Bobby's got school, and I pay too much damn money for him not to go.
Yeah. Carry on. I'm actually getting it out just so this way I can set it aside now because I will forget it the second we go off the air.
Okay. So I saw that today and almost peed myself laughing. It was just hysterical. I'm like, yeah, I got to send this to Jim. Hey, real quick. I see you got the Islanders thing up there, and I want to ask you a quick question. Howie Rose tweeted out something. Salinger from the Islanders kid is in the NHL?
Yes. Mike Sillinger?
Dude, we seriously got fucking old.
Just, look at all the second generation stars that there are.
Dude, seriously. And here's the other thing, because Howie Rose goes, wait, didn't I just call your dad's games for the Islanders? Yes, Time, you need to slow down.
Yeah, I don't have the Sabres up there tonight because it's the home openers for both of these guys. I know they beat the Sabres tonight after the Sabres got their ass kicked the other night that I told you about. And
yeah, we were talking on the phone.
They're playing the Kraken right now, and it's 1-1 in the second.
Well, I know we were talking they played the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
Hey, their goalie got his 100th win. That was a pretty big one.
Yeah, Shesterkin. It's a very, very cool. It's all I would have actually liked to see him get denied because the Sabres started, 18-year-old Devin Levi, the goalie of the future. But I would have actually much rather him not started last night because you don't throw him in. He's not ready to be the number one on opening night.
No, I agree with you. Not at 18.
But Shesterkin is still one of the three best goaltenders. If you've got a healthy Andrei Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay, your three best goaltenders right now are Vasilevsky in Manhattan. Ironically enough, they're all on the East Coast. So you've got Vasilevsky, you've got Shesterkin in Manhattan, and then you've also got Ilya Sorokin on Long Island.
Yeah, no, I remember you saying that the goalie play was far superior on the East Coast. than what we had in the Western Conference. Just a quick update with 3:54 left. Notre Dame still leads 38-20, and they now have the ball again.
Yeah, which means they're actually going to play. They're gonna bring back.
They're playing keep away.
Right. They're just milking it.
So speaking of milking the teeth that feed you, let's talk about our final big topic of the evening, sir.
Sesame Daddy!
Not that one. This motherfucker. This motherfucker.
It's the story that just keeps gaining steam and won't go away. And I have not listened to Cleveland radio all week because of it. I've been listening to a lot more Alan Cox because I don't want to hear more about the dysfunctionality going on here.
Agreed. 41-20, Notre Dame. They just kicked the field goal. How funny we've gone from a quarterback playing through a shoulder injury and being set up by the front office to one telling the front office, oh, I've been medically clear, but I'm not fucking playing. Bro, you're making $230 million. Get on the fucking field.
And the funny thing
Shut
is,
the fuck up.
There was a report that came out about 2 hours before we went live that he's not going to play this week, but they're trying to get him back for Indianapolis next week. Hello. Yeah, perfect idea. Somebody else brought this up. I was also talking with my dad about this. Could it be something that he is trying to sit himself out against good defenses? Even if he does have a little bit of a bum shoulder, I understand not trying to aggravate it, but could it be that he's also scared to play and get exposed against a Baltimore and a San Francisco, two of the top 5 defenses in the league?
Absolutely. You're talking about the guy who said he was going to take his ball and go to fuck home when he didn't get his way and lost a wide receiver in Houston. I don't care what the front office was doing.
The fact that line shot from, depending on where you looked, it started out as low as 2.5. It's now 9. If you actually got in on the ground floor and took that at 2.5, congratulations. You got yourself a pretty good Sunday coming with your payout.
I would take it now, and I'd take it again when it gets to 14 tomorrow morning. Because everybody and their mother is now betting on the fucking San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I could actually see something where you get an overnight line and something happens where this line pushes to maybe 12.5. I don't think it's going to 14, but I definitely see it ticking into double digits.
I'm going to ask you a serious question. Is there a bigger shit show franchise in all of professional sports? Don't say the fucking Mets.
The New York Jets.
Yeah, but even they've gotten some of it right.
Yeah, well, if it ain't one thing with the Jets, it's another. Right now, the biggest problem with Cleveland is the quarterback play the last 3 years. Because you figure they had it right and mismanaged it when Baker was here.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and you liked the thing I tweeted out today, because I randomly, I didn't even realize I was following that dude. But the guy, I'm going to read the tweet I responded to. And the guy said, it's actually crazy that people just forget the headache this man caused, talking of Baker, and how bad he was for half of his time here. Insane. So it brings up franchise ranks through the first 4 seasons with the Browns, and Baker's first in passing yards, first in touchdowns. So my response to him was, it's crazier. People forget how insanely terrible Freddie was and the fact that it was 4 coaches and OCs in 3 years. No true wide receiver won in a year full of injuries to get to Baker was the problem. 1 and 32 before him. No first rounders and a quitter after.
And we follow that up.
Level up. Now, I want to pose a 30-second hypothetical to you, and I want you to kind of let this ruminate a little bit and marinate. marinate. If that's got to go on the fucking soundboard. So let's say you keep Baker and you take that 13th pick and you draft one of the 2 wide receivers out of Ohio State.
Or even
Jamison Williams or somebody.
Yeah.
Because you had Amari Cooper already. And then, God for fucking bid, Baker re-signs far less money than Deshaun Watson. We all know that.
What, he probably would have done 25, maybe 30, which still would have saved.
You would have if you would have given him a $10 million pay bump to 27, which again is stupid money, but it's not mine. It's that dumb fucking hillbillies, who again fuck the Cavs. So screw you, Jimmy. You're still saving 18 million for 16 million against the cap on Baker. Could they have rebuilt this offensive line? That's a problem through the draft or free agency if they had the money.
Oh, easily. And I think the common theme of tonight, and this is, I think, going to be the 4th time I've said it, is past as prologue. What happens if, think of where they would be now. Take out of the equation the anomaly that's going on with Baker down in Tampa. Put Baker on this team with the way that they've rebuilt that defense.
Jim, that defense still has a ton of fucking holes on it.
It still does, but it's still the best defense in football, at least for right now, barring what they do against San Francisco tomorrow.
Statistically, because of who they played the first few weeks, it's the best defense in football.
I don't think really against the Baltimore game was a bit of an anomaly, and there's definitely crooked numbers all over the scoreboard, but it's the fact that Dorian Thompson-Robinson played so poorly. It was very much like when the Deshaun Kaiser era was here, is that
yes,
they put a lot of bad numbers up and the score looked so lopsided because the offense wasn't on the field long enough and the defense just ran out of gas by the first drive of the second half.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, I'm paying closer attention this year because we're a year removed from everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this. You're absolutely right. That Baltimore game was an anomaly because of how terrible the offense was.
Because PJ Walker was a flea flicker into triple coverage.
Give him another series. I watch him do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I got news for you right now. Nick Bosa's going to eat tomorrow.
Let's play a little over-under here. Go ahead and finish your thought.
So let's talk about where they would be with Baker right now. Even with the Nick Chubb injury, he's more efficient. He gets the ball out quicker. I don't know how, but Baker reads the defense faster. And I'll say this right now. With the way the AFC North is, if Baker Mayfield is the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, they're the favorite to win the division.
And here's one other intangible that the guy running the show right now doesn't have. He's better in play action, and he also throws a better screen pass.
Yes. And Baker still has the longest throw in NFL regular season history.
Yes.
Which I didn't see coming. I thought Favre would have had it.
So let's play some over-under here. Nick Bosa, over-under 3 sacks.
Over.
I'm going to go under. I'm going to say 2.
Push.
Debo
Wait, is push an option? Is push an option?
Yes.
Okay, push.
Debo, over-under 125 and a score.
Total yards or just rushing or just receiving?
Receiving.
I'm going to say under. So I think he gets to 125 with rush yards out of the backfield too.
Even with CMC?
I think Shanahan's got something for the Browns' ass.
Yeah, it's. I think, okay, over-under. CMC, 75 yards.
On the ground?
Yeah.
Under.
I think he goes over. I think
he goes under because of the teeth of that defense is in the front four.
I actually could see a scenario where he goes over and Debo comes under 100, but maybe gets 2 scores instead.
Here's one, Jim. Brock Purdy over under 3 touchdowns.
I was just going to say something with Brock Purdy. I'm actually going to say over 300 yards, and I'm going to say 2 touchdowns. Because here's the other thing. I think they somehow, some way get a defensive touchdown.
Nick Bosa scoop and score.
I think he's got a play in it. I'm not sure if he's the one stripping or he's the one bringing it up. But, I mean, I could actually see something where it could be a direct result of him maybe collapsing a pocket.
Yeah, I can see that
maybe
too.
Not making contact with P.J. Walker, but basically, maybe like drawing a double team to set somebody up, kind of like what Miles does. Over or under, Myles Garrett 1.5 sacks tomorrow.
Push.
I think so too.
Notre Dame scored again. They're back up to the
damage.
Yeah. Caleb Williams is 23 of 37 for 199 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions.
Wow.
Bye-bye, Heisman. Bye-bye. Archie Griffin is still the only 2-time back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner.
He's still going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I'm sorry, Justin Fields, your time is up.
All right, let's play another 30-second hypothetical. Justin Fields' time is up. How well does he do in Atlanta?
Probably not much better because they're in a worse off position than Chicago.
There is no team worse off than Chicago. Please stop. They are god-awful fucking terrible. Chicago
has a couple of offensive playmakers.
Denver's worse than Chicago, but go on.
Yeah, did you see the GIF or the meme that somebody put up saying like it was Russell Wilson holding up the Lombardi when he was with the Seahawks, and they say this has got to be AI generated, right?
Oh, here's one. I saw something today, and I don't know if it's been confirmed, but there's a leak out of Denver that he's done there after this year. He is not a part of their plans for 2024.
Oh,
they're doing a full rebuild.
Absolutely.
Where's Russ land?
Could Denver maybe have the capital to go up and maybe take Caleb Williams number 1?
Fuck no. They blew it all to Seattle to get Russ.
That's right. I forgot that they sold the farm for that.
Somebody did a mock draft where the Bears end up with pick 1 and 2. And they're saying Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison to Chicago.
Yep.
Although I would prefer Marvin Harrison in Indy.
I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you what, though. That would be scary fun to watch.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
You're not at
least. You want to know why?
Intrigued. No. The best quarterback in college in the last 5 years with the best wide receiver right now.
He's not the best quarterback from college in the last 5 years. He has played 3 good defenses and lost all 3 games, Jim. Look up his numbers from the Utah games last year. They're god-awful garbage like they were tonight. He has played 3 defenses with any NFL caliber talent on them, and he's lost all 3 fucking games.
You know what I hated? Because I remember the mock draft meme that you saw. They have Tampa at 26 taking Bo Nix.
I can see it.
Which means Baker would be out.
Baker wouldn't be out. They would let him sit.
Bo Nix with Mike Evans, with the payday that he's going to have if Tampa's able to bring him back, would be a lot of fun. But let's actually see what Bake does the rest of the year. I think I'm going to buy they still have Baker Color Rush jerseys on Fanatics, like real cheap. I might actually pick one up.
I still have my Baker Mayfield jersey.
I might actually, I might get that, and I might like go to like one of those jersey shops and then like get the stitch numbers in, because it would still be a hell of a lot cheaper than like getting a stitched jersey to begin with.
Agreed. Let me ask you a question as someone who's on the ground there. Tampa wins the NFC South and the Browns fall on their fucking face. How much of the city of Cleveland is laughing in the face of the Cleveland Browns?
It
30%?
it depends on who you ask, because I need to tread very, very, very thinly when I say this. And let me say, before I mention this, I'm going to put a disclaimer that the comments I am about to make are in no way, shape, or form a reflection of Mike Martinez's personal opinions nor my own. It would be a very racially charged conversation.
Most likely.
You're going to see a lot of people who ride or die with Deshaun, but it's all off of past accomplishments and feel he can do no wrong. But you still have a lot of Baker boys who right now wish they still would have had him, even with some of the off-field, or like some of the antics and everything. They still actually are sitting there, been laughing now for the last 2.5 years with the with the circus show going on that continues to build.
Let me just say that my next opinion is no reflection on my co-host, but it is entirely mine. The scumbags who think he didn't do anything wrong off the field are the ones that I'm going to laugh in their face. And there are people that I've known since I moved there in 1993 who have been on social media saying that, you can't believe people who are trying to get some money. They can go fuck themselves. You keep Baker, you still have the entire fan base, and you have a better fucking team. Because guess what? It's starting to get cold in Cleveland, Jim.
Have you begun?
Watch what I said last year is going to come to fruition.
Have you begun to notice, and I don't know if I'm the only one, because you're still, even though you don't watch them as close, you still kind of follow them through social media. Have you started to notice through Facebook, through Twitter, and even also now trickling
They're
into
turning.
They are turning on him.
Do you want to know why they're turning on him? Because people are finally realizing the problem with the Browns was never the quarterback. The problem with the Browns is in the owner's box. And until you get a guy in the owner's box that's not, number one, should have been in jail already with the way Pilot Flying J was robbing people left, right, and fucking center. And two, leave the football people the fuck alone. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I cannot believe I'm going to say this. Art Modell knew enough after a while to leave the fucking football people alone. Why can't this dumb son of a bitch learn it? This is the best GM coach combination since Ernie Accorsi and Marty Schottenheimer. They are going to get fired after this year.
There's a gleam.
They're gone. Andrew Berry's one of the best GMs in the league. With the rest of the rebuild he's done to this roster, everybody and their mother, who's not a dumb son of a bitch, who thinks that this guy is great, knows Jimmy Haslam pulled the trigger on this fucking deal. This is Johnny Manziel 2.0.
Yeah, but we didn't actually have Ray the Farmer calling down from the box on a cell phone and getting suspended for 4 games.
I don't care about that. What I care about is the fact that now, they did a thing on Get Up the other day. The 5 franchises who deserve a championship. And it was Alan Hahn, who's a New York fucking hack. But he'll make good points. 5 fan bases need a championship. He said it was the Cowboys, the Mets, the Jets, the Knicks, and the Toronto Maple Leafs were the 5 he said. I'm going to add 6 and 7. And number 6 is actually number 1, and that's the Cleveland Browns. And number 7 is the Guardians. Because we just hit 75 years last week since the then Indians behind Bob Feller. And was that his first season back from World War II?
Yes.
In his first season back from World War II, with early win and Bob Lemon, pitched them to a World Series in 1948. And then get back there again 3 years later. So the Guardians need a championship. There is no team fan base that has been more loyal through catastrophic, not collapses, but catastrophic happenings that left indelible marks that you still, all I got to do is say Red Right 88. And everybody of a certain age knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
Everybody knows the drive. Everybody knows the fumble. And then they lose the original inception of the thing that really defined a city I love to this day. When that egotistical motherfucker brought them to Baltimore. Can you tell them a little fired up about this?
A little bit, but it's good to actually see you talking about this franchise in a positive light for a change.
And again, I have followed and felt for this team since the late 80s. Jim, remember when they used to train out at Lakeland?
Yeah.
I went. We were there for a week and a half in the summer. My uncle had to go to work. My mom, my sister, my cousins, and my aunt, before she passed, they went school shopping. My uncle said, take Michael out to Lakeland. Their Browns are practicing. You're going to be here in 2 weeks. I was from me to my window that you're going to see in here to Bernie Kosar. I remember coming here for Thanksgiving and seeing the city painted brown and orange.
Why is he calling me in the middle of a show?
Is that your father?
Yeah.
Put him on speaker.
No. I told him I was broadcasting tonight.
He'd want to hear me do this.
Yeah.
I may have grown up a Jet fan, but the day Brian Hoyer, who played at St. Ignatius with my cousin, took over under center, I put the Browns first. The only thing that took me away was this shit. And now, the Davy Crockett fucking wannabe in the owner's box is going to lose the best GM. Because who's the hire next, Jim?
Yeah, because I was going to say, you've already got your coach in place for when Stefanski's out. So, yeah, who's going to be your... it's unfortunately they're not set up in that front office the way that the Guardians are. Like if they lose Chris Antonetti, they still have Mike Chernoff to be able to take over with the Guardians.
Yeah, and the Guardians have always promoted from within. When John Hart left to go to Texas, what was his name? The GM after John Hart, the one that was in Moneyball. Bald dude went to Toronto afterwards.
Paul DePodesta.
No, not DePodesta. DePodesta was with the Browns. GM of the Cleveland Indians after John Hart.
GM
Mark Shapiro.
Shapiro.
Shapiro was Hart's right hand. You'd have to make Paul DePodesta the GM of the Browns. You'd have to.
Yeah.
He's a fucking baseball guy.
He's a money guy.
It's not because I want gear. That championship in 2016 with the Cavaliers, I wore the t-shirt the other day, dude. I still ride that. It's been 7 years. We're coming up on 8 this coming June. I will ride that t-shirt and everything else from that championship as long as I live. A Super Bowl? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That'd be the end.
We're buying hats. We're buying shirts. We're buying replica jerseys. We're buying
And
the
here's-
championship rings. We're buying the
And
towels.
here's the thing.
We're buying everything.
I don't think they'd burn a city to the ground. I think Cleveland would drown from all the tears.
Well, that actually wouldn't happen because you figure with the parade, they'd be frozen. So basically, it would be like, it looked like a snow globe.
Tell me that wouldn't be a snow globe that every single person who's ever rooted for the Browns would want.
Didn't I call you Elsa on the phone the other day?
Yeah, you did. Shut the fuck up. And for those who don't get the reference, I had a customer come into my office the other day. And so I had my Ohio State shirt on. He kind of snickered. And I said, I've seen launch angles go out of Truist Park smaller than the launch angle the safety took at Marvin Harrison. The guy walked away. And Jim's like, dude. I don't think the launch angles of all the home runs the Phillies hit last week were as bad as the one that kid took at Marvin Harrison. Don't think I'm not going to use that fucking line this week. I want that franchise to succeed more than most people who don't give a shit about them right now. And it bothers me that they have sold their fucking soul for this scumbag, who, again, is an under 500 quarterback. What has he won? A passing title? Scott Mitchell won a passing title.
He threw for 4,000 yards on a 4-12 team.
Wait, which one? Because I think they both did the same thing. Rant over. Maybe. You like when I get fired up about stuff like this, don't you?
Oh, I love it.
That's because the gentle giants spit and fire. It's interesting. Dude, it just it bothers the fuck out of me. This and ESPN's coverage of baseball are the two things that make me want to throw shit.
Yeah, well, you ain't got to worry about the ladder for the next 6 months.
Nah, fuck them anyway. So, speaking of ESPN, do you want to hit on Mr. McAfee before we get to the translator?
Absolutely.
So, I got to ask you this. And I'm being serious here. He's got another year before he's got to tear up his contract and leave them, right?
Keith Olbermann brought it up on his show earlier this week that it's also been discovered that he is paying out of that $85 million that he's making over the next few years, over the next 5 years, whatever. He's paying Aaron Rodgers a couple million a year to be a guest on his show to come out and spout that shit.
First of all the guests are compensated. Rodgers saying the things he says. And I think it's, by the way, I think the exchange between him and Kelsey is hilarious. By the way, someone leaked a video of the Pfizer commercial coming on during the Taylor Swift movie in the theaters, and the Swifties losing their fucking minds. So yeah, no, listen. And then we had the moment with J.K. Dobbins the other day, which brought a smile to my face. But I digress. Yeah, they're all compensated. But at the same time, for McAfee, it's because Aaron's his boy. And Aaron's AJ's boy.
I get that, but you have to figure the parent company has got to be stepping in and putting a kibosh on that here very, very soon.
I'm sure you won't hear it again.
For giving him that platform to spew those level of lies.
I agree with you, but I find it funny that the guy who works for Johnson & Johnson is running his mouth like this.
Yeah.
Because that's where Woody Johnson made his money.
Because let's also keep in mind how they broke off Sage Steele, how they broke off Jamel, whatever her name was, for spewing.
Jamel Hill.
Yeah. So for spewing all these lies and mistruths and falsehoods and everything. So, yeah, he's going to fall in line as well. He's going to get canceled out by the network, and we're all going to be better for it.
Probably. I hope they don't cancel McAfee because that's the only thing they got going right now.
You got to figure, though, there's going to be some blowback on him. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what's coming in place for Aaron Rodgers, but there's going to be something.
Here's the crazy thought about it, and this is just me kind of spitballing here. Do they not give any blowback because they know they're on their last leg? Remember, the financial hit ESPN is firing all these people for, they haven't taken yet. They don't take that financial hit till next year. Because next year is the year that they no longer have access to 3/4 of the country when it comes to college football.
Yeah.
They are preparing for next year. Because the suits at ESPN realize that the Big Ten going scorched earth and cutting them out of everything. The only time you will see a Big Ten team play on either ABC or ESPN starting in 2024 is the playoff, which again, that TV contract comes up. And if you're the college football playoff committee and the people that do it, you've got to say to yourself, ESPN does not have the foothold they once did.
I was just going to bring that up because, they're not the only network that shows primetime. You've got Fox and now you've got NBC in the picture.
And the thing is, you have a better booth at Fox. No one makes compilation clips of Chris Fowler's calls.
Mm-hmm.
They make them of Gus Johnson's. He went back to the well last weekend. Did you see that?
I did.
That's a great one. And oh, by the way, remember, Denzel Ward got thrown out for targeting on that hit.
Well, because he didn't invite for barbecue. He hurt his feelings.
Yeah, he hurt his feelings. When I heard that, because I was listening to Paul Keels for the Maryland game, who, by the way, lost today to Illinois.
Illinois ain't one to slouch. Did you see Annie Agar's Big Ten meeting this week?
I haven't seen it. I got to watch it.
Oh, it's so good. You need to dial it up. It's about 3 minutes long.
I'll have to find it. So, first of all, did you see McAfee's got the how many days without the F word thing?
I don't watch that clown.
Hold on. So obviously, because there's only an hour or so on ESPN, the rest of it's still on YouTube, and they still just go off. That was the deal they made to get on there. And if you drop an F-bomb during the ESPN time, they have a clicker like you see in a factory, this many days without an accident.
Yep.
This many days without the F word. George Kittle did it. Darius Butler did it. Darius Butler did it talking about CJ Stroud, which, by the way, now holds the record for the most completions without an interception in NFL history to start a career. He hasn't thrown a pick yet, Jim. On that team, that if Jacksonville doesn't get its house in order, it's going to win the AFC South.
To quote Al Bundy, like the man in the stall said to the man waiting outside, just give me time.
Oh, no, he'll throw picks. I know he will.
He'll probably throw a lot of picks.
I don't know about a lot. I think his decision-making is better than that, but I got you. But I think it's time.
You just want me to play the new intro.
I really do want you to play the new intro.
Good night, everybody.
You're a dick. Team me up, Jim.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No! God! No! God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
That's fucking amazing.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, my God. That was wonderful.
I love that I actually found some way to have the president be able to yell at me at the top of that every week.
You're a gentleman and a scholar, Mr. Crinity. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the new intro to the YZ Translator. As first of all, where'd you find the computer voice? That's interesting.
You actually could just search like, AI talk to text or something. There's certain sites you can sign up to be like I actually tried to find one. I actually found one that had Snoop, but it actually had me register for an account, but it's like I'm not actually signing up for any more crap.
Can we change it to the talking Tom thing that you can? So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator, the segment where Jim and I come up with the first thing we can think of after each one of us gives the other a topic, the greatest hits, as it were, of the YZ Translator. I'm going to put a new one in there, and that is my discussion of Aaron Rodgers and his Brad Pitt impersonation. Jim's douche canoe will be up there at the top of the list forever. And of course,
oh no, I think that was supplanted by Victor Wembanyama. That was I think the hardest I've made you laugh on this show.
No, the hardest you made me laugh was when we were talking about the Scissor Me Daddy shirt with Alex.
At least in the translator.
Okay, in the translator, yeah. So I would like to lead off with you tonight if I could. And we'll give each other each two. Does that sound good?
Yep. A tradition unlike any others. That I've got to have. Jim
Nance
Masters.
And when we come back from the next thing, you have to do the return to glory. Like when Tiger won that Masters. I'm sorry. Jim, the first name for you, sir, in the YZ Translator for this evening is Caleb Williams.
Still a Heisman finalist, but we talked about it earlier. He's not going to win it. He's not a two-timer.
I would have gone with, bitch, you ain't Archie Griffin.
You know me. I'm never going to do that.
I know.
He's still a first-round talent. He's still the number one pick off the board.
I'm not saying he's not. But he may stay in school because he can make more money in school. I'm not saying he's not, but...
What is he, Shaq?
Ooh, a Blue Chips reference.
No, a basketball reference. Because remember, Shaq didn't get rich in the pros. Shaq got paid in college.
That's right. That's right. No, it's just the Heisman's gone. It's gone. Unless they run the table from here on out and he's putting up 500 yards a week, he ain't winning it. So what do you got for me, bud?
I hate to bring back to the rotten piece of trash that we've actually just spent 45 minutes talking about, but I'm going to switch to a different sport, but somebody who's just as big a scumbag.
Okay.
Mike, your first name in the YZ Translator tonight is Charlotte Hornets forward Miles Bridges.
And to quote the sports guys on TikTok, who?
Miles Bridges was the individual who got arrested a second time now for felony domestic assault and turned himself into authorities earlier today.
Oh. You mean an NBA player? Or a member of the Browns? Okay, then let me say this. He's a piece of garbage and should rot in hell. Speaking of his team, Did you see the team with the CLI, with the clit word across their jersey now has a sponsorship with Feastables on that jersey? It says Feastables on it.
If I show up there and you've got one waiting for me,
Dude, I don't have that kind of money, but Feastables, and if they use it on the clit jersey, I already have a YZ in the wings for them if they do that. And they will win for a second year in a row.
if I show up there and you have pulled your money together and have one waiting for me, to quote a very, very wise man, I will kick you in the nuts.
I would not do that to you.
The fuck you wouldn't.
I honestly, no, I would not do that. T-shirt so it can be worn more than just basketball season? Absolutely.
Shit, that actually means that I'm going to be contractually obligated to pick something up because that's where my layover is when I fly out.
Jim, in all seriousness, if you walk through that airport and there is a jersey that says CLT and has the Feastables logo on it, I need a fucking picture.
Yeah. Well, then again, I may not have enough time because by the time I actually fly out, it's going to be 10:30. All the gift shops are going to be closed. And I've only got a 45-minute layover. So the second I deplane, I actually got to hop over to the next one to catch the connector.
If you see it in passing.
You know what? Maybe they'll have something in Dallas because that Dallas one apparently is like its own city.
Yeah, they do.
And I got a 3-hour layover there.
Ooh.
At least I can say I've been to Dallas. There's my restraining order.
Unlike the Lombardi Trophy. So what do you got for me next, Jim? Oh, that was the fifth.
Emotional damage.
That was the fifth team in that Alan Hahn thing, was the Cowboys. So it was the Cowboys, the Maple Leafs, the Knicks, Jets, and Mets.
Yeah, but the only problem is that if we ever actually had any of them win, the rest of the country would probably figure out a way to like cut them off from the rest of the world because they would be insufferable.
No, I don't think if the Mets won, people would do that. Knicks and Jets probably. I don't think if the Mets won, they would.
Can you think of another hockey team that would be more insufferable than if the Leafs ever won a cup again?
Jack Eichel.
Jim Everett.
Chris Everett.
Shut up.
Do not cut that out when you do the translator.
Oh, it'll probably get cut or at least spliced or something.
Dick. What else you got for me?
Michael, your second name in the YZ translator this evening, Shadur Sanders.
In the words of a Miami offensive lineman to Bernie Kosar in the early 80s, how's it feel to lose a Heisman Trophy? When did he say that, Jim?
That wasn't the Nebraska game, was it?
That was Flutie.
Oh, Hail Flutie, that's right.
Bernie Kosar was the quarterback for Miami that day.
Yeah, I think the Heisman talk with Shadur, the mustard was off the hot dog. If I can actually quote Billy Hoyle, that was off the hot dog after the USC after the Oregon game.
Oregon game, yeah, no, agreed. Agreed. So my last one for you, James. And it's not a person, it's an entity.
Oh boy.
James, your second and final name in the Wisely Translator is the Atlanta Braves.
I love me some Bryce Harper, though.
I'm starting to, because I hate Atlanta more than I hate the Phillies.
I've always been a Bryce fan, but man, that was. I could understand some of these teams being upset about having the 5-day layoff, but the fact is that these are. You got to remember that Atlanta still has a lot of young kids. Bryce Harper is a man who was hungry.
Well, here's the other thing too, and being serious now. Let's talk about the things Atlanta's had to do to get to where they are now. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They had to play 800 ball to catch the Mets. Bottom line is the Mets and the Braves finished in a flat-footed tie last year. Atlanta just won. The 10 games were in Atlanta, not in New York. That's why the Braves won the division and got the layoff. They are not a team built to take time off. They are a momentum team. And when they get going, they're tough to stop. But when they have a stop, they don't know how to get it going again. That's been proven 2 years in a row. Their pitching is suspect. Their pitching is great for the regular season. It's suspect in the postseason. But that seems to be a thing when you put on an Atlanta Braves jersey. That's what happens because Greg Maddux was shit in the postseason, but phenomenal in the regular season. Glavine carried that rotation in the postseason. So did Smoltz.
And then Smoltz turned into Tiger Woods' private ATM.
That's how he paid for the hookers.
Fucking embarrassing!
I cannot wait for you to watch that in 2 weeks.
God, we're gonna have to do a marathon. I'm gonna actually, we're gonna have to do Letterkenny, and I'm gonna have to show you some of the league.
They're only 18, 19 minutes long. They're on Hulu. You're gonna like Katie.
Okay.
And Bonnie McMurray. So next week we'll do Saturday night, 9 p.m. Here on the Wise Guys channel. We will have we have reaction to, of course, Ohio State, Penn State. We're going to have reaction to the first, maybe possibly a World Series matchup by then. As the LCS's kickoff this week. What other big games are next weekend? Michigan State's next weekend. Ohio State, Penn State's next weekend.
Tennessee, Alabama.
Tennessee, Bama. I think you said USC and not Washington. USC and yep. Just a quick recap of the scoreboard tonight. It has gone final in South Bend. Notre Dame 48, USC 20. UCLA is down 12 with 3 minutes left in Corvallis. Mizzou beat Kentucky by 17. Carolina holds a 10-point lead over Miami with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Duke annihilated NC State. Arizona, that 44-6 was a final. And, another upset. Your Pitt Panthers 38, Louisville 21.
Yeah, that's a bad look for Louisville.
Yeah, especially coming off the win against Notre Dame and then Notre Dame winning big tonight against USC. You think Notre Dame was overlooking them a little bit?
I don't even so much think it's them overlooking, but I think it was more so being spent from just, Ohio State, then going right into the walk-off against Duke. They were just emotionally spent, so you knew something like that was going to happen.
I mean, if you think about it, they had 4 weeks of primetime top 25 games, 2 of which were on the road.
You got to, as much as people bag on Notre Dame, and I know that you like to bag on them a lot as well, but let's also be honest. If it wasn't for a brain fart in the final 30 seconds. Notre Dame is 6-0 and in the top 3 right now.
If not for a brain fart in the last 30 seconds, I think Notre Dame is 6-0 and number 1 right now, because they would have had the best wins on this in the country. A top 5 Ohio State and a top 10 USC. No one has that resume. No one's going to have that resume.
Yeah, you also got to figure, the people were going to play favorites with the first place votes with Georgia and Michigan. I think they would have dipped into that, but I don't think they would have taken enough of them to vault over them.
I think with the garbage schedules the top 2 teams in the country are playing, because they are playing shit schedules. And part of that is because Oklahoma, and I give Georgia a little bit more of a pass than Michigan, because Georgia had a top 15 game out of conference canceled by the SEC because Oklahoma's going to the SEC. And they had to fill it, and you're only going to fill it with shit teams anyway. Michigan made this schedule.
And how weird is that Michigan schedule? Their first 6 on the road and their last 5 on the their first 6 or first 7 at home, and everything else on the road afterwards.
Except for the big one.
That's so weird.
Do you want to know why it's weird? Have you seen their fucking coach? Good or not, he's a weird dude, Jim.
He is a weird dude, but he doesn't have a nickname like the weird guy in Boulder.
That's true.
Who throws his own kids under the bus.
Yeah, that was bad. I will say that's a bad look. What the hell was I going to say to you? Oh, did you see Craig Counsell turned down another contract extension from Milwaukee?
Yeah. Do you see Kevin Cash took his name out of the running to go to come to Cleveland? And also
I didn't.
Did too.
Well, I knew Sandy did, which I and that was his choice. And I can't blame him.
We're looking at Maniac to 2.0 at this point. They're not going to get they're going to get a retread or a first timer.
Yeah, but depending on the first timer, it may not be a bad thing. I tell you who'd be a good candidate for them if they don't elevate this guy. Eric Chavez has been phenomenal the last 2 years for the Mets. And he learned, and this year notwithstanding, he learned at the hip of Buck Showalter. I think a young manager with that team, and you get him an experienced pitching coach, he'd be fine. He'd be fine.
Yeah, well, I don't think, just with Tito stepping down, I don't think that really any of the coaching staff's going anywhere. I think Carl Willis is staying around. I think Sarbaugh is staying around. I think Santos is staying around. It's just going to be the new guy at the top at this point.
Then that's the kind of situation a first-timer can step into. And as long as he understands what he's doing, he'll be fine. That honestly is the best place for a first-timer to go.
Especially with all the young talent that they're going to have in there.
Exactly.
It's just so funny that they had the 3 young studs come up in the rotation with all the injuries, and yet the more established guys in the bully were the worst in baseball.
Yeah, that if both of our,
even though they put up fantastic numbers, it's like everyone talks about, like, yeah, Clase led the majors in saves. He also nearly broke the major league record for blown saves.
Yeah. If you think about it, the 2 teams that we root for most of the time in Major League Baseball are not that far away. They're not. Mine needs more young talent. Yours needs bullpen work.
And a couple of bats in the outfield, because it's like some of the guys they got back in some of the trades, like the kid that they got from Tampa in the
Savali.
Yeah, in the Savali trade, the kid can flat out mash even though he was hurt. But that's going to be another big first baseman bopper, but it doesn't do anything for the outfield right now. It's, your rotation's going to be set, with these guys, with everyone coming back healthy. Although I think you need to move on from McKenzie before too long, or either that or shut him down and, have him have TJ at this point. But I mean, you're going to be good there. Hopefully the bully can get themselves righted, but you get a couple of bats in the outfield and you start, sitting Miles Straw most days, you're fine.
I agree. The look on my face before is I didn't realize Rutgers beat Michigan State today.
Well, Michigan State's not a very good ball club, but then again, everyone's expecting that just because of all the turmoil going on with their coaching position, which is just getting that much more weird and weird and weird by the day.
Let's spend some time on. Let's make Mel Tucker a conversation piece for next Saturday, huh?
Because we're going to have a lot to talk about with that.
We can talk about him and the Browns in the same sentence.
No, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking because we're at the end of the show.
Type it.
You realize that next Saturday could also be our last live show of the month?
Well, yeah, depending. I'm going to start doing research on where we got to go. It's at the stadium in Jacksonville. I don't know if there's Wi-Fi there. We will be bringing you multiple episodes in 2 weeks. They're probably going to be pre-taped and then put out either when we get, if we're awake enough on Saturday, because Saturday is going to be a long fucking day.
Saturday, or actually, I mean, I'll have most of the day Sunday to be able to edit, and I'll be able to show you how to do some of that as well. Actually put up like Monday, Tuesday after I get back in town. And then the following week, I think we're going to take a week off, kind of like back behind the curtain, because it's going to be a compilation of two great friends from high school getting to see each other in person for the first time in over 20 years.
Exactly.
So that's actually, and then the week after that is show number 50. And you guys are going to see a lot of changes.
We're calling it the Wise Guys 2.0. And technically it's 3.0. Because we started it with the split thing where we could swear on your page and then mine was all nice and clean.
Yeah.
And now we're on our own and we just don't fucking care. And now this one, we're going to go into a little bit of a format change. We're going to go into, obviously, we gave you one of the new pieces tonight, and that is the new intro to the Wisey Translator, which, by the way, may be the best idea you've had.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the Wisey Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
For those of you actually trying to figure out that last part, that is Mr. Jeremy, Mr. Kroll, from playing the part of Mr. Rodney Ruxin from The League, going, "I'm forever unclean."
Jesus Christ.
Chicken milk stink bomb. I'm forever unclean.
You are killing me.
Oh, that actually came from the episode entitled Kegel the Elf. As in Elf on the Shelf.
And they named the elf Kegel?
They named the elf Kegel. I will be playing that one for you when I'm down there, because it's basically going to turn into what's the dichotomy in your house.
We don't do elf on the shelf here.
They gave their daughter Elf on the Shelf because their parents are foul-mouthed little chuckleheads. Okay. And they were trying to blame other people in the league for naming it Kegel. As it turns out, it was because her mom actually on the message board told one of her opponents that week to take a ride on her suck stick.
I can't even.
If I can figure out a way to clip it, I will send it to you this week.
Well, I will see you're there, and I will say to you simply, it's called milking the prostate. On that note, we will see you guys next Saturday at 9 p.m. As we come to you for the final time. Actually, it probably will be the final time we're going to be live this month, with barring good signal in Jacksonville. So for JC Blue Note, I am the Big Rican saying, have a great rest of your weekend, and put money on the over tomorrow with the Browns and the fucking Steelers, or the 49ers.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys.